This is Dr. Phil's snippet of the day, and today we're going to be looking at stress and the workplace. First of all, it's important to identify that stress can come from different parts of the body. For example, physical, it can be caused by backache. It could be chemical. It could be an imbalance, for example, in the brain, the chemicals in the brain. And it could be emotional. Let's have a look at a little bit of detail now. The Health and Safety Executive identifies 6 risk factors. These are the demands of the job, the control one has over their work, the support received from colleagues and managers, relationships one has at work, the role one has in the organization, and how change is managed. There are 3 main models associated with stress. The first is stimulus, identified by Masuda and Holmes in 1967. The second is response. This was identified by Selly in 1956. And the third is transactional, identified by Lazarus in 1966. Let's have a look at these in a little bit more detail. Stimulus, that was identified by Masuda and Holmes in 1967, suggests that stress is caused by a stimulus. For example, it's things that cause stress, such as people, money, events, education, work. And it's the tolerance of a person being able to cope with a particular stress being experienced. If the stress is too great, it may affect well-being. The second, which was identified by Selye, S-E-L-Y-E, refers to stress being experienced by response, the reaction to something being experienced. It is what a person feels. It makes them feel stressed. He came up with the idea and the model of general adaptation syndrome, where there's an alarm reaction to the actual event, there's a resistance stage, and then there's an exhaustion stage. A quote from Selye states that the non-specific responses of the body to demands placed upon it, that is what stress is. The third model is associated with transactional, put forward by Lazarus. It is when a person feels that they cannot cope. It's where there is an imbalance on the demands placed upon the person and the ability of that person to cope with the actual demands. Lazarus put forward 2 appraisals, the first primary and the second secondary. The primary appraisal is where a person evaluates a situation as to be stressful or not. And the second is how they respond to the actual stress. Let's have a look now at a little bit of information, a few statistics. Mental illness is reported to be the largest factor that causes disability in the UK. 37% of adults with anxiety or depression were accessing mental health services in 2014. 17% of adults experienced a common mental health disorder. Women experience this more than men, 19% and 12% respectively. And the rates tended to be higher with those who lived alone. The Health and Safety Executive in 2016 identifies that 37% of all work-related ill health cases are associated with stress, and 45% of all working days are lost due to stress. Factors that are associated with stress include workload pressure, tight deadlines, too much responsibility, and a lack of managerial support. Stress does appear to be prevalent in public service industries, for example, education, health and social care, public administration and defence. An average of 24 days are lost per case for stress, depression or anxiety each year. Those in professional occupations experience higher stress levels than for all other occupations. And teaching and welfare professionals have higher rates of work-related stress. Those in skilled trades experience lower rates of work-related stress. Higher levels of stress are experienced in medium and large enterprises. The main causes of stress are associated with workload, lack of managerial support, violence that includes bullying, changes at work, role uncertainty, and lack of control. Other important factors that are associated with work-related stress include interpersonal relationships, tight deadlines, too much work, too much pressure, and too much responsibility. The World Health Organization identifies two areas in which stress can be broken down. The first is work content, and the second is work context. Work content is associated with the actual job, the monotony or boredom of the job. Workload and pace is another factor, working long hours, and lack of participation and control within the workplace. Work context is another factor where there are problems or challenges with career development, job insecurity, lack of promotion possibilities. It's where your role in the organisation is unclear. There are interpersonal relationships where bullying, harassment, isolation may be experienced. Organisational culture may be a factor where there's poor leadership, lack of behavioural rules as examples. And the last point that the World Health Organization identifies is work-life balance, where there may be conflicting demands from work and home, and there's lack of support from work. Chronic stress may be experienced, and this results in problems associated with memory or behavior. It can also result in things like cancer, asthma, arthritis, diabetes, and heart disease. A quote from the World Health Organization in 1986 states, "A healthy working environment is one in which there is not only an absence of harmful conditions, but an abundance of health-promoting ones." So I trust you found it of interest. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care for now. Bye.